What is up, everybody? Mike Renner, Kyle Long here, the inaugural preview episode of Pushing the Pile. Going to give you guys a little sneak peek of what to expect on the show going forward, and to do that, we are going to rank our favorite offensive position groups in the NFL. So we're going to go receiving corps, we're going to go O-line, and then we're going to go backfields. So Kyle, let's kick it off with receiving corps.
Well, there's a lot of fun receiving corps, and we know this league goes around the world thanks to quarterbacks and wide receivers, some like to think. And me as a Chicago guy, I haven't seen a great receiving corps in Chicago since I think about Brandon Marshall and Alshon Jeffrey, Martellus Bennett. You can throw them in that group. But this year, they go and get Caleb Williams, and they bolster the outside of that football field. You got DJ Moore in there, who's been a stalwart for the Bears here, and he's really found himself a great home. Roma Dunze, obviously the young stud out of Washington, who's going to be a matchup nightmare. He can go downtown for Caleb Williams. And then you've obviously got your other guy, Keenan Allen, who's a do everything, get open on any play type of dude. And when I think about wide receivers and how these power rankings work, you got to think about the roles that all these receivers are playing. It's not all just one type of receiver. Every guy's different. Some guys are possession, some guys are explosive threats. The Bears have a really good blend of all that, in addition to the safety net of Cole Kmet, who's obviously hit it off with Caleb Williams early. I know he's a tight end, but we got to throw him into this receiving core conversation. And look, you couldn't ask for a better situation than Caleb Williams has. He has a guy who can get open on any third down, stick concept, short routes. Keenan Allen, you've got a guy who's a matchup beater in Roma Dunze. And then obviously your do anything at any time guy, DJ Moore. He can throw the ball too. If he's covered, he's uncovered. That's my first group.
They are easily the most intriguing one to me because of what they did this offseason. DJ Moore was kind of doing it all on his own last year, and I think he's one of the most underrated receivers in the NFL, even still. Like, doesn't get his due as a true number one, top 10 type of guy. But the thing that's interesting to me about them is they are a big-ass wide receiving group. Yeah. Like, these guys are 210 plus, 6'2". Like, they are all big guys that if you have these small nickels or these skinny outside corners that we see coming in the league, good luck. And so I'm intrigued, but to me, the gold standard is still the Dolphins.
Yeah.
It's the Dolphins.
They're pretty darn good, those guys.
And I know Tyreek's 30 now, but he's got a lot of mouths to feed at home. And he's going to be working his ass off this offseason to get himself back in shape, because last season, 1st and 6th in yards per route run, Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. The speed that those two guys bring to the table, and now they added Odell Beckham to the mix. And now he's not the Odell Beckham of old, but he still has great hands, and he is still savvy to hit those spot routes, those spaces in the zone that kind of they didn't have the guy to do last year, to have that kind of catch radius. So Dolphins are still the gold standard.
And I love that Tyreek is the number one supporter of Tua Tagovailoa, because look, the ball's out so quick. The ball's in Tyreek's hand before the defense can shuffle to try to cover things. And I saw it in Kansas City. Those of you who don't know, I was with the Bears for a bulk of my career, but I finished in Kansas City. When Tyreek was still there, I got to see how they operated and how they maximized his skill set. And yes, people love the down the field ball, but when Tyreek gets the ball right off the line of scrimmage with space, it is a disaster for the defense. And he knows Tua and this Mike McDaniel offense, the ball's going to be out quick, it's going to be in your hands, and you can do damage. So to your point, they're a great group. It's going to remain to be seen, though. I like my horses in Chicago.
They're two vastly differently built sort of wide receiving corps. All right, let's get to your side, the O-line.
Okay.
This is where I want to hear your take, because I have one who's like an up-and-comer at the number one spot, but I want to see who you think.
So there's a few groups, and I was up all night thinking about this because, look, there's three ways you can look at the success of an offensive line or how you rank them. On paper, there's a few teams, and I'm sure you'll get to one or two of them here, that are just scary as hell. And as a defensive lineman, I would hate to play against them. When I played in the league, it was the Detroit Lions with Ndamukong Suh and Nick Fairley and Ezekiel Ansah. These are position groups that you circle as a player and you say, damn, we got to go play those guys. Now, we're ready for the challenge, but we know what we're going to be facing. And for me, there's three offensive lines that stand out. And I'm going to name one. I know you're going to name the other, and I'm going to mention the third. The mention is the Kansas City Chiefs, because they've been there and they've done that. And I know they have some question marks over there at the left tackle position. We're going to talk further about that. But I look at the interior three: Creed Humphrey, Joe Thuney, Trey Smith. These guys have been everywhere and done everything together. And if you look at their body of work in these big games, even the San Francisco game, Super Bowl. You're like, they were getting their proverbial asses kicked at the beginning of the game, but they found a way to tighten up that helmet, strap in, and make it a football game. Sometimes you got to go to the salt mines. That's what Creed Humphrey says. And he goes, I want to find out how long you can last at the salt mines. That's my salt mine unit, is the Kansas City Chiefs, because they can go in harsh conditions and get it done. When I think about which group is the most complete, and I know the coach the best, it's Aaron Kromer's Buffalo Bills offensive line. Now, this is a group that has been together, at least 4 of their guys, for the entire, I'd say 14-plus games last year. They had the same offensive line out there. Deion Dawkins, a true bully. The left tackle position is so, so important. And when I look at teams like San Francisco who can get the play started with Trent Williams, or I look at Detroit with Penei Sewell, there are a number of things you can do as an OC or as an offense that benefit from having an absolute dog at tackle. They have one in Buffalo. They have that communication. They've been together for a while, and I love Aaron Kromer's coaching style. I think it matches with that group. He lets their freak flag fly. That's what Aaron says. You got a freak flag, let it fly. They do that in Buffalo, and it happens with the quarterback too. Josh, he's an extension of that group, and I think they've all bought in to being a unit.
I cannot believe you haven't mentioned, though, either the Philadelphia Eagles or the Detroit Lions.
I got Eagles talk after you go.
Okay, because mine, though,
I'm going to let you unload on Detroit.
It's Detroit. To me, they are up and coming in certain ways, and they added in certain ways also. Kevin Zeitler at the right guard position, ageless, 34. Guy has played over 900 snaps in 9 straight seasons.
Decker,
now.
ageless too.
Decker, ageless, just signed an extension.
And more wealthy.
And then those aren't even their 2 best offensive linemen, which are Penei Sewell and Frank Ragnow. Penei Sewell in the conversation with Lane Johnson for best right tackle in the NFL, in my opinion. And the crazy thing is, Penei Sewell is younger than Packers first-round pick Jordan Morgan. 2 days older than Steelers first-round pick Troy Fautanu. He is, and this is his 4th season in the NFL. The guy was 20 years old coming out, and so he's legitimately getting better every single year and already elite at his position.
I remember when he was coming out, people wanted to interview me about him because I was just on the cusp of getting out of the league, and they said, you're an Oregon guy, he's an Oregon guy, what do you see? I say, if I was a young player, I would say shut the tape off. There's nothing I can learn from this guy because he's such a physical specimen. And I mentioned Trent Williams earlier, but there's things Trent Williams can do on a football field that none of us can do, except for maybe Penei Sewell and Lane Johnson. So you're right, that unit, tackle to tackle, and then I got to give a second mention to Frank Ragnow, because that is a junkyard dog now. Yeah. If he ain't fishing, he's kicking somebody's ass. That's Frank Ragnow. That's the guy you want at center. I love this group. I like your pick.
I will say, I love also what they do with the extra offensive linemen in that running game. Basically turn Sewell into a guard and just letting them cave in a line of scrimmage. They're going to be tough. That's going to be a tough unit. All right, let's move on to the last one here, backfields.
Okay, backfields, and you know what, I've ragged on this unit for a while, not because of their lack of talent, but because of their lack of ability to make the big one happen, particularly at home against the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm talking about Lamar Jackson. I'm talking about the Baltimore Ravens, and I'm talking about the addition of Derrick Henry. And look, Derrick Henry, the MO of the Tennessee Football Titans was, we're going to Derrick Henry you to death. Well, the Baltimore Ravens have Lamar Jackson people to death for a very long time. And now you throw in another wrinkle. Lamar's got that jab, that pop, pop. He's going to test you out. Feel it, feel it, feel it. And then every once in a while, he'll get that home run. You throw Derrick Henry in there, he's pressing power, gets the football, and it's scary for defenses. I thought initially when they went after Derrick Henry, I said, all these moves this offseason, you look at Houston going to get that the rusher, Danielle Hunter, and that's a move to try to get after the Kansas City Chiefs when the time comes, right? Well, you need to score a lot of points against the Kansas City Chiefs to win. You need to have a passing game. So they got Derrick Henry, and I said, I don't like this move. But now we move into camp, and I start to be reminded of the physicality of our football game that we love so much. Derrick Henry's a great move. I think this backfield, including Lamar and Derrick, and their other cast of stars will be fabulous. It's going to be something that continues to drive teams crazy, and they have another wrinkle now with Derrick Henry.
I'll throw a shout out to Keaton Mitchell, too, in that Ravens backfield. That man can fly. Sadly, towards the ACL towards the end of last season. Hopefully he's back healthy. But I have to agree with you. And they also added that outside zone when Todd Monken came over as OC last year to that running game in Baltimore. That's Derrick Henry's bread and butter. It's just too much to stop there.
And what can you do off of that outside zone? You can get Lamar to skirt.
Exactly. So
good luck.
The one I'll go with, though, is the one we didn't get to see last year. It's the Indianapolis Colts. Because the one game, Week 5, when Jonathan Taylor finally comes back from his contract holdout, well, that's when Anthony Richardson had a shoulder injury. But we are talking about the freakiest athletic backfield in the NFL right now. Anthony Richardson was the freakiest combine quarterback of all time. His speed score, and for all you analytics nerds out there probably know what it is, but I'll explain it a little bit for you.
This.
It is a combination of weight and 40 time, because obviously how heavier you are, the faster you are. It's explosion, yeah. His speed score is higher than any starting running back in the NFL right now, higher than Saquon Barkley's was coming out.
That's insanity.
Because he's 244 pounds running a 4.43. And Jonathan Taylor, oh, by the way, 228 pounds running a 4.39. We didn't get to see it, though. And then Shane Steichen, arguably one of the best, if not the best, at involving the quarterback in the running game in the NFL. We saw what we did with Jalen Hurts in Philly. We saw what we did early with Anthony Richardson last year. 4 rushing touchdowns in 4 games, 136 yards on 25 attempts. That's 5.4 per. I am very excited. I cannot wait to see this duel.
I'm anxious because, like you, I'm enamored with the physical prowess of Anthony Richardson, and obviously you couple that with Shane Steichen's ability to get through to these guys schematically, and whatever it is, something clicks when you're being coached by Shane Steichen. I hope the thing that clicks for Anthony Richardson is keeping your body safe, because the best ability in the NFL is dependability. And no matter how high your speed score is, no matter how far you can throw a post, you got to be out there on the field. And we saw that with the Colts last year, and they've got so many stars, to your point, that if they can keep that quarterback on the field and continue to mature as an offense, that'll be my Madden pick every time.
We didn't say them for O-line, but they're not too far off.
Nope.
Some of the O-lines we talked about. So very excited to see them. All right, now we're going to pick them, our backfield, our O-line, our wide receiver. If we're starting a team, which ones do we want the most? 3-1. Rank yours here, and I'll rank mine.
So out of the group that I just put, out of those groups, if I'm going to start a team, well, you know what? I gave the Bears the receiving core, and now I got to think Keenan is on the back 9 of his career. So if we're looking at taking over a franchise mode or a dynasty mode, maybe you go with a little bit more youth. But DJ and Rome, really young guys. I think Caleb you can build around. The offensive line in Buffalo, that's kind of in its heyday right now. I think we could maybe see them not have so much success in terms of availability. But yeah, I think it's got to be Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry, because for the Lamar Jackson reason alone, he hasn't done it yet.
Yeah.
He has not done it yet. And nothing burns that fire hotter than having not done it, because I still haven't done it as a player. I never won a Super Bowl. My older brother won 2. I know many of my buddies won Super Bowls. I never did. That fire burns inside me. Lamar is still a young X-Men. He's still a young superhero. He can still get it done. So if I'm going to attach my rope to any of these boats, it's going to be the Lamar Jackson captained Baltimore Ravens boat.
Chris ever let you borrow one of those rings for like a little stolen valor?
Fucking never. Chris was always very kind about the fact that I didn't win a Super Bowl, and I was always able to go to those post-game parties with Jason Kelce and Lane Johnson. They always made me feel a part of, which was great. So I don't hate the Eagles per se. And you were talking about the Eagles being in a line that we should have mentioned. So I'm going to go back a couple of minutes and say, look, you don't have your captain anymore.
Yeah.
Jason Kelce only comes to the practice when he's got to take his annual picture with his wife and his kids. That's what I saw on Twitter this morning. So for the Eagles, they have a lot to prove to me, because the keystone of that offensive line, as you and I both know all too well, is that center position. And when you don't have the guy being a second quarterback out there with a Hall of Fame career worth of experience, you're going to be missing some stuff. So that's a prove it to me group.
Yep.
Yeah, Lane's going to be awesome. All these dudes are going to be freak shows, but you need to have a guy in the center getting you right.
Plus, he was such the key to the tush push. He was the tush push king. All right, I'll rank mine. I'm going to go Colts backfield 3, Lions O-line 2. Although it's close, Dolphins wide receiving core is just so insane. If you just put something around that, and especially obviously with Mike McDaniel, it to me is the most dominant single unit in the NFL right now. There you have it. 4 more pushing the pile. Make sure you subscribe to the NFL on CBS YouTube channel, where we'll be live Monday through Thursday, 9:30 a.m. ET. And we're also on audio form on all podcast platforms. Till next time, Mike Brenner, Kyle Long.
Check us out.